I think of that. Kayce!
That's Beth Dutton at the end of Yellowstone, Season 5, Episode 13, and fans pretty much all had the same question after her conversation with Kayce, during which he introduces an out-of-the-box idea to save the ranch.
I didn't tell her anything, she figured it out.
Figured out what?
The only way to save this place. Gotta give it away.
Don't worry, it's not a spoiler if you just backed into this video and you haven't watched the ep yet, but we will start spoiling soon. The big question heading into the finale is, who's gonna get the ranch, right? Chief Rainwater is the obvious answer for reasons that you'll soon understand, but Yellowstone fans have suggested an alternative theory that would really just be all the feels. Jamie's survival plan, Teeter's grief, and what was the point of Beth's strip poker scene with Travis? That's all on the way.
Travis, you're such a child.
Hey, we really are gonna have
Go play with your friends, okay?
The corn dogs was real.
In fact, let's start right there because understanding this is critical to understand the point of this entire episode. Episode 13 was an all call, meant to just give everyone who has ever worked on this show one more chance to shine, and if Taylor Sheridan could squeeze in anyone else, he was gonna do it, because next week is all business. Here's a short list of characters who appeared for no real reason other than to just be there. Jimmy's wife, Emily, Walker's girlfriend, Laramie, former Governor Linnell, all the cowboys, a random cook named Charlie Ferguson, the Turnpike Troubadours, Texas country singer Hayes Carl, and Jamie's baby mama Christina, who actually did have a pretty significant role. My God, is it fun to hate this woman.
The only reason I am helping you is because we share a child. And your legacy is that child's legacy.
Musically, I can't remember an episode with more music. Brothers Osborne, Ward Davis, Jackson Dean, Sam Barber, and of course, Taylor Sheridan without a shirt on. And sure, why not make supermodel Bella Hadid your girlfriend?
I'm fascinated. He is probably the most arrogant man that I have ever met in my entire life. Condescending, misogynistic, 25 years older than you. Can you please explain the appeal?
You ever seen him ride before?
Fans did not love how this episode began. I think one person suggested that Taylor and Beth could have accomplished the same thing with an email. I don't know. Do you think 25 minutes was a little too much time just to get Travis on a plane to Montana? I'm not really mad about it. The show has survived a pandemic, 2 Hollywood strikes, the star leaving the show midway through the final season, and a really turbulent political climate. I can't really think of another show that can say the same, but you let me know in the comments section below. If Taylor Sheridan wants to flex, I say let's let him. From the jump, this episode was all about selling everything that's not rooted into the ground. It means horses, cattle, tractors, old farm equipment. It's all gotta go because Beth needs a tremendous amount of money to pay the federal inheritance tax, which is 40% of anything over $13.5 million in 2024. That's per IRS.gov. No idea how much a 750,000 acre ranch in Montana is worth, but I've seen online estimates that range between $1 billion and $7 billion, so the $30 million they just raised isn't nearly enough. Jamie is banking on Beth not having the money to pay both the tax and hire lawyers to defend the ranch from the state's eminent domain dreams, or at least he was, until the cops started to become real suspicious of him and Beth started to leak all of his dirty laundry to the press.
Speculation of repeated sexual encounters between the Attorney General and Miss Atwood, including one such tryst in the exclusive Deerfield Club, have been uncovered. In addition, evidence has now surfaced that the Attorney General stood to benefit from a lease of land at the center of the development.
Realizing what we all know, that Jamie has no friends, he does the most Jamie thing possible and goes crawling back to the mother of his son, Christina. And y'all, as this was all going down, all I could think of is what actor Wes Bentley told my Dutton Rules podcast co-host Addison Hager when she asked if his character was the villain.
But you know, his instability is where it's really like is where Jamie's really dangerous, you know, and why he's really actually can be scary, and I can see that, and why he is the dangerous one.
If you forgot, Christina was Jamie's campaign manager way back in season 2 when he decided to run for governor. She urged him to give an interview to a reporter named Sarah that more or less spilled all the Dutton secrets, and then she sort of looked away when that reporter ended up dead. She's a brilliant strategist, and in just a few seconds, she gives Jamie hope for life beyond all of this.
Call a press conference. Launch an investigation into her death and your father's. Clarify that you worked closely with her to restore the development. Steer into the crash on that. Vehemently deny any affair.
Furthermore, Christina gives this big speech about how he should praise John Dutton's convictions and herald his love for Montana.
Declare his death more than just a murder. It is an outright defiance of the rule of law.
It was a murder of the people of Montana's freedom, she says. My God, I hope that no one like this exists in American politics, but I think we all know better. Is this gonna work? I just don't see how this season ends with Jamie alive, but subscribers know we'll dive more into that during this week's preview video.
Why didn't I think of that? Kayce!
Yes, Beth, why didn't you think of this? As you can see, fans sort of thought the same thing, but I'm not sure that's the right question to ask. More important is if this plan will work. Here's the nut of it.
I buy this car for $1, and then I take this $300,000 car that I bought for $1 and I register it. What do I pay in sales tax? Is it based off what I paid or the value of the car?
Kayce is thinking that if they more or less give away the ranch, then nobody owes any taxes on it. Who is he going to give it to is one of the big questions that I'll get to, but first, is that factual? I'd actually love if someone with actual tax knowledge weighed in. You can do it at staff@tasteofcountry.com. Based on my research, what Kayce's trying to do is not accurate. A $1 billion ranch is not a car, first of all. One depreciates and the other one increases in value over time. Also, many states don't use a bill of sale to determine the tax rate on a car. They use the NADA value. If the Duttons did sell for $1, it's essentially a gift, but this doesn't really matter because there's no gift tax in the state of Montana. There's no inheritance tax either. What they're saving for is money to pay the federal taxes. You won't be able to convince me that in practicality, if they sell for $1, the IRS isn't going to find a way to use the appraised value and not the sales price to get their fair share of tax cuts. As for who's going to get the ranch, I saw someone on social media say that Lloyd will end up with it, and that just makes me feel real good. But if you've watched this show and prequels like 1883, you have to think that Chief Rainwater and the Broken Rock Reservation are getting it.
But you know this, that in 7 generations, my people will rise up and take it back from you.
In 7 generations, you can have it.
This is the 7 generations theory that stems from episode 10 of 1883. Cliff's notes there. James Dutton got the land he eventually put the house on from a Crow elder named Spotted Eagle, played by Graham Greene, but in 7 generations they're going to take it back. We did an entire video on this called Yellowstone Told Us How It Ends, the 7 generations theory explained, and I'll link to it below, but you can count the different generations here. You'll get to Tate, who, by the way, was named as the beneficiary in John Dutton's will.
What are you drinking?
Your mother nice. After I shoved your head so far up, you got heartburn in your eyeball.
This was another Teeter-heavy episode where we saw her grieving Colby's death. Walker and Beth both tried to help, and it led to some humor but no real plot movement yet. That may still come. For me, the only other consequential event was an early scene with Mo and Rainwater, where they're surveying the land and the government plans to build a pipeline on it.
It's hard to build a pipeline if you don't have any pipe.
That scene's got to go somewhere, right? I mean, otherwise, why? Last week, my Dutton Rules podcast co-host Addison Hagar joined me to answer some of your burning questions, and we're going to do that again right now. Hey, Addison.
Hey, I have some fun Q&A for us today. If you're ready, some fans have either on YouTube or email. This is kind of our call and response time of the episode.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got today?
Alrighty. The first one is from Tony on YouTube, who says, did anyone catch Beth's statement in the previews? I will avenge you, she says, to her dad's casket. How will she do that if the show is finished?
People love the little next episode preview section, that little next week on episode. They're starting to kind of watch like you and I have, where you just start to look for any and every reason to find some sort of clue in it. And this is the one now for this week. She says, I will avenge. I think she'll avenge him in this upcoming episode of the finale. I think there's plenty of time because all she has to do to avenge John Dutton is to kill Jamie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
That's
Jamie's
all it
dead.
needs to happen.
Yeah.
And we think that's going to happen this episode. I think that's the logical conclusion. So this is like more of that, like, is there going to be some sort of season 6? I'm still not going down that road, even though there seems to be a little heat to it. For now, season 5 is it, and I think Jamie dies, and that'll be a proper avenging.
Next one I have for us is from Tori, who actually emailed us saying, the riderless horse ceremony had me about ready to cry, more from Colby than John. And because of the pain and suffering it caused Teeter and Ryan, it almost made me forgive Taylor Sheridan for hitting us with another extended series of horse porn and horse trainer antics.
Bit of a backhanded compliment there to Taylor, but... What did you make of that scene towards the end of episode 13 where they're doing the tribute to John Dutton and Colby? To me, it seemed kind of shoehorned into the auction proceedings. I didn't really figure out why there was a place for that amongst an auction to sell everything John Dutton has worked for.
Well, because I'm curious, did they sell Colby's horse?
Well, I'm sure they probably did. And they probably sold John's too, but I still don't know if that makes it the time to pay tribute to a couple of our fallen cowboys.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the time, but I do think it was a good way to at least honor the fact that he died in the episode, you know?
I'm reserving judgment a little bit. Like, there was so much Teeter grieving and Colby grieving in this episode, which is merited only if something kind of becomes of it in episode 14 next week. Like, if it's just an episode of Weepy Teeter for the sake of giving her like a spotlight, I'm not sure that's the best thing in the world. But, if it pays off and Teeter has some sort of action or makes some sort of decision next week, then I'm good with it.
Alrighty, our last one is from YouTube as well. And it says, the question that I'm also wondering, Billy, where is Lainey Wilson?
Probably at home in Baskin, Louisiana. Just not going to be on television this year.
That would be so much production, effort, and all the above to be cut. Like, we know that they filmed at least something. They were calling for extras. We talk about this in the podcast.
I agree, yeah. So the deal was they put out a call for extras for a concert film scene in Fort Worth. It was set to... And this was out of a legit newspaper or online news source. This isn't something that we found on like a Reddit board or like just in the social media comments. This had like a legit source to it. And the scene either just never happened or it got cut. I'm having a hard time now there's so much that has to happen in this episode, and it promises to be big and dramatic and heavy. Like, where are you going to put Lainey Wilson's sweet, adorable Abby in a big old celebratory concert? That don't work for me. I don't know.
I hear you, and also I hope you're wrong.
I think Lainey... Well, next time we get with Lainey, she's got to give us the behind the scenes on what really went down here. Until then, we may never know.
Amen. Well, that's all I have for us today, Billy.
staff@tasteofcountry.com is the email address, or just comment below if you have questions or concerns for a little bit later this week. Thanks, Addison.
Bye.